welcome to First and Filoni. This is the final episode of the season. It's been a long journey, man. How's it going?
It's going between trying to watch football and deer hunting.
Yeah, it's been kind of a crazy season. So this episode, we'll talk a little bit about what happened this past weekend, and then we'll give our year-end awards, and then we'll give our predictions for the upcoming championship game next Monday. So to go ahead and kind of start it off, let's recap some of the games from last week. We'll start with Alabama, Michigan. Um, Obviously, we were both wrong on both of the games, but we were both wrong on this game here. We did say it would come down to the last 5 minutes, which it really did. Jalen Milroe had a costly fumble, but the story of the game for me, and I'll let you get into it as well, was the bad snaps from the offensive line. They had struggles all year long from the center. And then he had a couple good games, but then just back to it again. And Michigan's defensive line kind of just took advantage of it there. And I think that was really, truly the difference. Um, Other than that, I think it was a fairly close game. The interception in the first play of the game, unfortunate, he was barely out of bounds by like a half an inch. Um, but other than that, I mean, good game. Michigan won. But guess who was in attendance? Freaking Connor Stallions. So shocker that they won. All right. I'll let you go ahead and speak, man. Were you surprised by it? What were your takeaways?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by it, but like I said, I mean, if you kind of listen to Saban's post game, I mean, they had that play planned the whole time.
Yeah.
So I don't think the snap necessarily had a lot to do with it on the final play of the game where Michigan stopped them. I mean, it might have messed up the flow of the play, but if you ain't got blocks in front of you to create the
Yeah.
hole for you to go, I mean, it's not to me. That's more or less of a. It's just a team loss. I mean, he's just on a bad end of things, and it happens.
Yeah, it looked like it was an RPO, and I think if the snap was at his chest, he might have thrown it out to the swing pass like the guy was running to the left side. Um, but then again, if they've been having bad snaps all game, why put yourself in that situation with an RPO? Go under center and push. I don't know. Um, but I guess Michigan was a better team here, and it's going to provide a good matchup, I think, in the championship game against Washington. Um, Washington beat Texas in they dominated, and then Texas came back, and then I guess Washington sealed the deal. I fell asleep on that one. I'm not going to lie to you. But I watched some of the replays, and I guess my biggest takeaway from that game is Michael Penix is that guy. Like, do you think he should
He's
have?
that guy. He's that guy, but Texas came out flat.
Yeah,
I told you at the beginning that you had to establish what you were doing and how you were going to do it in the
right.
first two or three series, and they
They're running the
I
ball
don't
7 yards of carry on him, and they didn't stick with it.
yeah.
Michigan's not going to do that because that's the only thing they can do is run.
Yeah, I thought Texas had a pretty good plan, a game plan going in, but I
Yeah.
mean, damn man, I mean you're averaging seven. I mean, run it until they stop it,
I think
until they
Sark
have to
got
execute the
nervous. I
ball.
think this game falls on Sark right there because Texas should have won that game. And it goes down on coaching, I think, on this one as well. But this time the head coach versus the offensive coordinator. Sark in big games just doesn't cut it, I don't think. So, um, any other
Well,
takeaways
it's
from that
starting to become a
game?
trend. No, I mean, other than the fact that it just goes to show you. I mean, we're not taking away from Jalen Daniels, but I
Penix
think
is
Penix
good,
should have
man.
been up at the top.
Penix is
I mean, he
good. That
took a
was going to
lot.
be my question is like, so I have a couple questions from these two games here. First one, we can go right into it. We know the Heisman is a regular season award, but now with the updated college football playoffs going to, basically 3 rounds, should we wait until after college football playoff is done to kind of give it to the best player
Yeah,
on the best team?
100%. I think because I think that if that's how they're going to do it, that's how they ought to go through it going forward. Is because quarterback might have a good year throughout the year, but let's say we get in playoff time, crunch time, and you got somebody like Arch Manning who lost the game but was putting up decent numbers, and he goes in the playoffs and he just
Right.
goes crazy. You know what I mean? I think that's how you're going to have to start basing the Heisman as far as going forward.
Would it be advantageous to maybe make a second award and keep the Heisman the regular season and then like a playoff MVP type deal? Or would that take away like the Heisman?
I could no, I agree with that. I think you can do the original Heisman just for the regular season, but I feel like
Yeah.
to make to make it more fun, you kind of need to do like a outstanding player of the playoffs or
Yeah.
MVP.
The only reason why I say keep the Heisman is because of like the Johnny Manziel season. I mean, he was by far and away the best player. Tim Tebow season by far and what best player, but I don't think they were in the championship games.
I don't
Tim
think they
Tebow
were.
was not Manziel. Manziel wasn't, but Tim Tebow was. But that just, you know what I'm saying? Like that just kind of, I don't know. I think you're right. I think that's how I would do it, but I could also see waiting as well with the expanded playoffs for sure. My second question is now that Jim Harbaugh has gone over that hurdle of winning an actual game, even though he cheated and it's been proven he cheated and he cheated again, do you think he makes this
Has it
jump to the
been has it
NFL?
been has it been proven that he's cheated in the playoff game?
No. But
All
if you
right.
have
Well,
100 plus
that's
hours of videotape evidence, they haven't released the teams. I imagine over the last 3 years that Alabama's on that list.
oh yeah, but I mean, until they have something against them at that game other than him being there, I mean,
Yeah, I'm just saying. You know how much I hate Michigan. So like, that's just all that. But with that said, Harbaugh's a great coach. I'm not taking that portion away from him. Do you think he makes this jump to the NFL since he's actually won a playoff game, or do you think he has to win the national title?
I think in order for him to make that jump, he has to win the national title to solidify him saying, "Okay, I've won an NFL championship." Did he win one?
No, no,
Yeah,
no.
I
He
thought.
lost to his brother in the Super Bowl. That was
That's
Kaepernick
right. All right.
versus
So,
Flacco.
all right. So, to me, depending on what job comes available, I think he's going to weigh his options on that as well. But I mean, if you win and let's say he does win the national championship on Monday,
Yeah.
why would he not? Why would he not say, you know what, with all the heat, depending on who's coming back next year, because you're going to lose Corum.
He's gonna lose half
Who's
his team.
not? That's what I'm saying. So who's to say he's not going to say, all right, I won a national championship before the heat gets too deep, and next year I get suspended for 8 games, or I'm told that I have to resign. I might as well go ahead and make the jump. But I think that's depending on the national championship game.
See, I disagree with you just a slightly there, and I think he does because of the reasons you just cited, because of the heat, because of all the drama, because of all the recruiting allegation, cheating scandals that he's had, and the play call cheating scandals. Like, there's three more has popped up in the last 2 weeks that have nothing to do with videotapes, that have stuff to do with recruiting. So, like, the cheating scandals are going on top, on top, on top. Like, I think he's going to try to avoid that. Supposedly, he's hired some famous negotiating agent. And you don't do that if you're staying at Michigan, I don't think. Now, if Michigan was smart, they just throw the bank at them. Be like, we'll match whatever NFL team
Yeah,
wants
but
to do.
the thing with that though is, man, is you got to think about is okay. If you're Michigan right now, the only thing you're really concerned about is that national championship game. You win that
Oh, for
national
sure.
championship game, I think they have a meeting saying, "Look, man, I think we need to part ways after everything that's going on. Let's do this the right way." And I think he comes out and says, "I'm going to step down and I'd like to take a job in the NFL."
Yeah, I mean, I could see that too. I think Michigan can't afford to lose him because if you
This
lose
game,
him, you're going to
this
lose the
game,
recruits.
without a doubt. But then again, if Michigan wins and he's got all these recruits coming in, they might say, we're not worried about it. Here you go.
Right.
Here's an extra 10, 15 million. We want you here
Yeah.
for
I
5 to
because
7 years.
the latest offer I think is 12 mil, 12.5 a year. And I think NFLs are probably going to be 15 to 17 a year, which I don't think it's unheard of with especially with all the money, especially this year in college football and next year with the playoffs. But I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean, I think Michigan would do it, but and they'd be stupid not to, because who are you gonna hire? Like, I don't think Sharon Moore is the answer. And I don't know. I guess you get
Brian Kelly is not the answer.
Brian Kelly's been was listed on there too, and because I texted you and Libby that, and I was like, but he fits better than he fits at LSU. So maybe it's Brian Kelly. Maybe they're comfortable with Brian Kelly.
Well, the thing with him is he's down there in, like the SEC side of things where he's going to get the money regardless. You know what I mean? I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
have a feeling LSU will be a little bit more lenient
I don't
than
think LSU likes him. I think LSU is going to part
I
ways
don't.
with him in 2 years, and I called them when they got hired.
Yeah, I mean they might, but me and you both know this day and time, man. It's the donors and the fan base that pretty much makes that decision going on down the road.
Oh, for sure. But when was the last time you've seen an LSU defense that bad and have that good of an offense? Like LSU
I'm not
never
saying
has
he
a bad
didn't.
defense, and they're losing recruits from Louisiana that has those strong defensive ties.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. Is kids now are going to go where they're going to get the NIL money too.
Yeah, no, that's very fair as well. All right,
I
well,
mean, don't get
let's
me wrong. I mean, I like the NIL, but I mean, down south like LSU and the SEC country that's got to compete with other SEC schools. I mean, they're gonna do what they can to get the players to come in.
yeah. I mean, LSU, I'm sure, has deep pockets as well, though. I mean, what else is there to do in Louisiana? Get that Gator
Oh
money,
yeah, donate a
right?
bunch of money to LSU.
Shoot them, Clint, shoot them. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and get into the year-end awards here. We just have a few, not as many as the midseason awards that we had, but still pretty good ones, I think. And it's kind of like we take what we kind of already talked about with the Heisman. We take the full year, versus just the regular season. Or at least I did. I guess you have your take on it as well. But let's go ahead and start off with Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year, Andrew. I'll let you go ahead and go first on this one. Who you got for Coach of the Year?
As of right now, the coach of the year is Washington's coach.
Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah,
I don't.
dude.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad answer.
I mean, he's battled a little bit of adversity because you really didn't know what Penix you were getting later on in the middle of the season. But to keep that team together and to do what they've done, especially against a really good Texas defense and a really good Texas team and a well coached, Texas program all the way around. I mean, that just goes to show you. I mean,
Yeah.
he's doing his thing out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit different because you took that one. I mean, I think that's the obvious answer, right? So I'll go a little bit in the weeds for mine. I'm gonna go with Jed Fish out of Arizona because he turned Arizona around, and I think if the 12-team playoff
Yeah,
happened and Arizona was in there, I bet they upset a team in the first round
it's
because
funny
they
you
played
said that because
well.
I was, dude, and for granted, Oklahoma had, the true freshman or the
Right,
freshman starting or whatever. But I was talking to John right in the middle of that game, and to
dude.
see
Arizona
the
looked good.
throw, to see the way that defense flocked to that. I mean, they
It
came
was
out ready to win.
crazy.
It just looked like to me Oklahoma came out flat-footed, but just to see that the defense played intercepting and I mean hitting and Fafita is throwing the ball like he is. I mean,
Yeah.
geez, Louise, man. I mean, they look like really and truly to me, they look like a team that kind of deserved to be in the playoff the way they
Yeah,
played.
they did for sure. But them in Georgia, and Georgia's beat down of FSU. You texted me 56 not or 56-3. I'm like, no, it isn't. No way. But that's a whole nother story. We called that one as well. But yeah, dude, I thought Arizona played well. I think coach of the year there. I think if Dion would have won, if he would have gotten to the bowl game, I would have put him in there. But I mean, 4 wins is still great for Colorado, but I mean, just what Jed Fish did with Arizona and Kalen DeBoer did for Washington, I think was just phenomenal for both of them. Next thing is we're gonna go team of the year. Team of the year can be anything, could be turnaround team, could be obviously like Washington as well, Michigan, what have you. Um, my team of the year, I have to go with Washington. I'm gonna take your. Hopefully that isn't yours as well, but
I kind of got another team for that one.
because just the way that they strung wins together, like what Michael Penix, the first 5, 6 weeks of the season, we both thought he was going to break every single record in the book, and then he kind of fell off a cliff. But then the defense just picked it up, and you were on their defense early. That yeah, they give up a ton of yards, but they don't allow scores, and they get turnovers when they need to turn the ball over and when they need to get it back. So I think mine would be, I mean, Arizona. I guess you could go for this one as well. But I like Washington too because they kind of were complete. They had 3 receivers, had a great quarterback, a good running back. I think they're number 2 pass defense in the country. Like they just turned out to be very, very good.
Yeah, see, I'm gonna go a little something just a tad bit different. I'm gonna go into the big. I think it's the Big Ten for this. Believe it or not, I'm gonna go with Northwestern.
Yeah, okay. I can get with that. They had a good year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, considering that they lost the coach to
Yeah.
all the stuff going on at the beginning of the year, and I mean, to be honest with you, dude, when all that stuff went down, I even told you, and I backed my word on this that I didn't see them winning maybe 1 or 2 games.
No, I two,
And
maybe 3. Yeah,
they
for sure.
they made it to a bowl game and won the bowl game.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So to me, I think that was the most turnaround team that I saw this year as far as the off season stuff going on down there with them. And they're always a team that can always dash somebody's hopes in the middle of a season or something like that. But the way that that team rallied around, the interim coach or the coach that
Yeah.
whoever they plan on hiring now, I mean that was pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like that. I like that pick as well. Well, let's go the complete opposite of that then. What would be and I have one of each, so I don't know if you do or not, but disappointing team or player of the year. So I have one of each. I think disappointing player for me, and then I'll let you go. But my disappointing sorry, I just disappointing player of the year, I think is Caleb Williams. He started off so hot, and then when he got to play defense, like I don't. He's still good. He's still going to be a first round pick, probably top 3 pick, 2 pick. Um, but whenever he gets pressure, he just kind of fell off. And then another one, just because I was on them so high this year, Drew Aller. I thought it was kind of disappointing, but not in a way like Caleb Williams disappointing. Caleb Williams was because he should have been better. Drew Aller because I thought because he was young, and I still think he'll be good. I think he'll be better next year. But he kind of disappointed me there. I had high hopes for this Penn State team and just didn't turn out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that you could think of, but
Yeah,
at the end of the day, we also know it's a team effort. But as far as a disappointing player to me, I'm with you, man. And I'm going to stick firmly to this because the way that Caleb Williams carries himself, runs his mouth,
yeah,
and boasts and brag and does all this, it came back to bite him in the ass. I mean, there's no way.
yeah.
Yeah, all right. The first 4 or 5 games, you don't play a defense. Then when you start playing defenses, you're throwing 2 to 4 interceptions a game. I mean,
Right,
that's. I'm not saying that he's not going to be a first round pick. It is
right.
what it
And he
is. But
might
I
have a
think the
great NFL
whole,
career.
yeah, but he very well could. But I think when he won the national championship game or helped, did he win the national championship? He helped
No,
Oklahoma. No, that's right. He
He
helped
had Oklahoma. He
Oklahoma.
came in and
Jalen
won.
Hurts.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
came in and won.
I think when he came in Oklahoma and did that with Jalen Hurts, I think it just got his head really high.
Yeah,
And I think it's then transpired. He got into the LA life over at Southern Cal, and I just think his head's been gone completely out the window. And
yep,
to me, I mean, if it's fine if you can talk the trash and back it up, but if you can't do that, to me, it doesn't really even matter.
yeah. I agree as well. I also had a couple like disappointing teams as a
Yeah,
whole.
yeah.
Do you want to go ahead and on that one? Because you sound like you're about
You
to
are,
go on it.
you you already know who I'm going to say that I was so high on this year, and they totally let me down.
Who's that?
Texas Tech.
Oh yeah,
They
for
came
sure. I didn't even think about them. Oh yes.
came around at the end of the year, and I was like, "Wow, man, this is the team that I knew they could be." Because I love their coach. I mean,
Yeah.
geez, I mean, it just blew my mind the way that they played last year, and then it's just to me that is probably one of my most disappointing teams, only because I had so much high hopes for them, especially in the Big 12. I thought they were going to compete a lot this year. So
Yeah. I have two. One of them is going to be a homer pick. I'm going to pick Florida. I was disappointed in them because they lost some close games, but then they got blown out some games that they shouldn't have gotten blown out in. And I don't, I've been telling you this all year. I think Billy Napier is a great recruiter because they've gotten a decent recruiting class. I think the players will, like him enough. But I just, I don't think he's the answer, and it's going to show next year with that gauntlet of a schedule. The second team that I was kind of disappointed in this year was Wisconsin. Luke Fickle coming in. I understand you need, a full year to kind of get your guys, a year or two to get your guys in, get your recruits in. But the way that his team just kind of played and kind of the rumors that I've heard, like through the media and some other ways, it just kind of just seemed like they were just not like he's not as good of a coach as he used to be, and I don't like the way that they're going with going away from running the ball, right? Um,
yeah, well,
so
you know
they
why?
kind of disappointed me,
Well, half of that is the offensive coordinator for Wisconsin was UNC's under Drake May before he left last year.
right?
So he's used to more of like a spread offense, run and gun type deal. But out there in Wisconsin, you're used to the Melvin Gordons,
Yeah,
the Russell Wilsons, and stuff like that that's going to pound the ball.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we could have gone a couple there as well, especially with and then another head coach for coach of the year, I think as well needs to get some talk. Sorry, I'm going back with it. I had it written down, but I just glanced over as Mike Gundy. What he did with that team too, out of nowhere. And Ollie Gordon for player of the year too. But anyways, well, I digress. And we'll go with player of the year. Right or no? Was that the
We're going to
last
do
one?
an offensive player of the year or defensive player of the year.
We can do one of both. I'm fine with that. We can do offensive and defensive. I have a couple for offensive. So I'll start with my first offensive player of the year. And this is kind of a weird pick for me because he didn't play the full season, but Jordan Travis. I didn't realize how good he actually was and how much he actually meant to that Florida State team until he got hurt. I think he should be in the conversation for some NFL team to pick him up and take a look at him because he played well, and then when they got hurt, they just looked like a completely different team. So that would be my first candidate for like player of the year or most impressive player of the year, however you want to talk with it there. Give me one of yours.
If I had to go with one offensive player of the year,
I mean, there's a ton you can pick from.
indeed, it's so widely broad. I like the pick of Jordan Travis. Offensive player of the year, man, to me, I kind of want to say Milrow, even though he lost, but
The growth that he
considering,
showed was amazing this year.
yeah, the growth that he showed, but I mean, being benched and coming back and leading Alabama, I mean, trust me, I'm just like everybody else, tired of Bama, tired of Bama. But the fact that he played in the first couple games, and we were like, all right, is this one of Nick Saban's like worst teams we're ever going to see? And then he got benched, and he comes back, and he defeats a very good Georgia team.
Right.
To me, I can throw Milrow in the mix. I mean, there's
You can throw Ollie
tons of other.
Gordon,
Oh my God, you could throw him, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Malik
There's a
Neighbors,
Yeah,
Jaden
believe it or
Daniels,
not.
even though he won the Heisman. I mean, Jaden Daniels had a phenomenal year.
Oh yeah, Bo Nix, even though
Yeah.
it's his eighth year in college football. I mean, there's a pile. But to me, I think that the Milrow the Milrow effect kind of proved his point to where, all right, we started off a little slow, we got hot, and unfortunately it ended against Michigan. But to me, I think he showed the most growth as a quarterback all year.
Yeah. Do you have a defensive player of the year?
Yeah, defensive player of the year, I'm staying at home, man. I'm going with Peyton Wilson.
Yep.
All them awards he won, man, he
I
gave
hope he
NC
gets a
State
shot in the
5, 6
NFL,
years.
man. I hope he gets a legit
I
shot.
hope I hope he does too. 5, 6 years NC State, overcame a lot of injuries, and I mean he won the Buckus Award, All American. I mean it's awesome to see. Somebody that I've seen play ever since he was a freshman. For 4.5, 5 years, and the way he transpired, and much as he gives back to a university, that's who I got to go as far as a defensive player.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't really a defensive standout that I really thought. I mean, Travis Hunter playing both sides of the ball, I think is insanely impressive, and the success rate that he had this year as well. But I mean, my player isn't really a defensive player, but Torrey Taylor, man, the punter from Iowa, broke the all-time record for punting yards in a season. Dude has a cannon of a leg. He was the reason why Iowa won like 3 or 4 games alone this year, pinning them deep and then having that defense turn the ball over. So I'm going with Torrey Taylor, man. I would love for the Steelers to get him to replace Percy Harvin, but I mean not Percy Harvin, Preston Harvin, whatever his name is. Um, But man, Torrey Taylor had a heck of a year, was a amazing kicker. And then, I mean, if we can go one more, for the brand, how about Mevis from Missouri? Uh Dude's a stud. Clutch when it counts and just absolutely electric.
Well, see,
Uh,
that's another team too that you can talk really
Drinkowitz is
highly
doing
about.
something. That's what I'm saying. Like this would have been the perfect year for the 12 king because I think Arizona might have made it in the back end. You would have had Missouri, who's on a freaking heater right now. You would have had Oregon coming back with a vengeance, and then you would have had Georgia in it as well, and then all FSU tiers and stuff like that. But like I think those Georgia, Missouri, and Arizona, I think were peaking at the right time, and I think they could have had a shot like at it. I don't know if they would win, but I
I'm
think they
not
had a
taking,
shot.
yeah, I'm not taking nothing away from Florida State, but the way the way Georgia came out firing right off the bat, nobody was stopping Georgia. I mean,
I,
they were trying to prove a point on why they deserve to be in the college football playoffs.
I saw a TikTok after the game, and it was from the longest yard, and it's I can't remember what is it, the popcorn guy? Was it Frankie or Freddie or whatever? He goes, "Why can't I play quarterback?
Brucey,
Why do you, Brucey? Why can't
Brucey.
I play quarterback? You always play quarterback." And he throws the ball, and then he has a Florida State logo on. He throws it. He goes, "That's why I know. Shut up." I'm like, that is perfect. That is like that's why I think Jordan Travis should get more recognition than he does. Like, so we'll see. We'll see if DJ Uyunglele can repeat that for them next year. Um, or not. But all right. I guess that's the end of our awards here. We're gonna kind of have a shorter show again this year, this episode. Um, but let's go ahead and get into it, man. National championship game, Michigan versus Washington. Michigan right now is 4.5 point favorites. Um, Washington can't stop the run. That's all Michigan does. Michigan isn't very good at throwing the ball, and that's what Washington can stop. I think the over under, I think it was at 56 and a half points. Um, Before you give your pick, what insights do you have? What are your thoughts going into it? What are the keys to victory for each team? Or we'll go with Michigan first. What are the keys to victory for Michigan you got?
Establish and run and
Yeah,
take the big uglies up front, create a lot of holes. I mean, to me, if Blake
right.
Corum gets over 105 yards, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
I think
But
Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards needs to be a big part of this game. They both need to
oh
have
yeah, I mean, they
15
need to
plus
average at least
carries.
a. Oh yeah, 15 carries apiece, and I think both of them at least have to hit. At least one of them needs to hit between 80 to 100 yards.
Yeah. And I don't think and if it comes down to McCarthy winning it, I don't think he can do 2 games in a row.
I don't think so either.
But we'll see. All right, for Washington, my keys to victory for Washington. Let
Stop the
Penix
run.
cook. Let Penix cook. Let them, you got 3 NFL caliber wide receivers. Your running back's a little bit hurt, but he's gonna play, but he's a big guy too, so you'll establish like a halfback draw. But let Penix cook, man. He doesn't throw, or he doesn't have like the prettiest motion. He's not like your typical quarterback because he's a little bit, I think he's a little bit shorter than some of the taller quarterbacks, but he throws a pretty ball and he doesn't make mistakes. I think the only way Washington wins is if he throws for 400 plus yards and 5 touchdowns.
I beg to differ. I think once Washington kind of contains the running aspect, or at least shuts them down between 3 to 6 yards a carry, I think that's when that secondary and defensive front's finally going to put pressure. I mean, you look, Texas had a hell of an offensive line,
Yeah.
and I mean, Washington was still putting pressure on them. So depends on how they're going to blitz and how they're going to come through the gaps. But to me, I think if Washington wants to win on the offensive side of the ball, you got to somewhat establish a run, but you got to keep the RPO intact and just let Penix throw the ball. I mean, that's what he's good at. Not only that, he's smart where he knows where he needs to tuck it and run as well.
Yep. No, I agree with you completely. So right now it's 55 and a half over under, minus 4.5 for Michigan. 74% of the money or of the analysts are picking Michigan. With that said, Andrew, do you want me to go ahead and give my pick or do you want to give yours first?
All right, I'll go ahead and give mine.
All right, who you got, man?
Give me the Huskies all day long. I think, I don't know. I've been so wrong this whole bowl
Me
season. I
too.
don't even know if I'm 500. But you got to think Washington was definitely underrated going in against Texas and was not the favorite. So hopefully they can keep the momentum going. I'm sticking with the Huskies, man. I picked against Penix earlier, then I went with him and he lost. Well,
Yep.
didn't lose, but he didn't really show me a lot. But Washington always finds a way to win, so I'm gonna stick with Washington. I think they're playing the best ball right now.
I think you hit it right on the head. I think Michigan, the way that the teams are lining up, I think Michigan has an easy shot at winning this. But what you just said there, Washington is finding ways to win all season. And that's why I'm picking Washington as well. Well, also, I can't stand cheaters. Anything that any kind of cheating and people who cheer for the cheaters, are morally corrupt in my opinion. Like I don't think like you should like Michigan should have zero business in there. Um, with that said, not taking it away from the actual team because the team didn't do anything. It was the coaches and it was whatever. We can get into that later. But I think, like you said, it's Washington is finding a way to win. They're finding a way to win often. And I mean, Michael Penix is that guy. Like he hasn't really been like even when he has a bad game, he
I
doesn't
just
have a
hope he
bad
doesn't.
game.
I know, but I just hope it gets to the point now where he doesn't choke.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a very high scoring game. So, and that $5 bet that I put on Washington to win at plus 700 is not looking too shabby right now either. So also have some money on the game too. Payout would be $40. So we'll see. Um,
No, come on, tightwad, put a little bit
I,
more on it.
I might. I was very successful this past Saturday outside of the Michigan game. So okay, well, that's it for us from here. Quick shout out for the Bowl Mania. It looks like as of right now, in first place right now, and if it stays this way, Team Washington Kendra. If you end up winning it all, reach out to me if you can prove to me that you are following the show, and that you're a fan of the show, social media following. Remember the rules. You have to be following us on either Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. And you also have to be following our Instagram as well, and not just right away. If you follow us right after the fact, you're not going to win the $25 gift card. Um, Outside of that, we have
What's the
a
record? What's the record showing on that?
So right now in first place, Washington Kendra at 25 and 17. Second place at 24 and 18 is me, Libby, and Elise. At 23 and 19 is you. And then there's 22 and 20, 20 and 22, 20 and 22, and then 18 and 24.
I'll tell you what, I'll match that and Venmo you an extra $25 and make it 50.
All right, well, we'll see. The if you are following, you'll have that money coming in, and
But
if
if it's Libby, at least or you, I'm not doing it.
if it's Libby or Elise. So that's what I was gonna say. Washington, Kendra, if you can't prove that you're following us or have been following us for a while, the next place would be either Elise or Libby. So Libby, I know who Elise is picking, so hopefully you pick different than her. Um,
I already
but
know who she's picking.
yeah. But that's it from us. Be on the lookout. This will be the last show of the season. Be on the lookout for some things in the work in late January, early February, potentially. Also, look out for a draft special like I did last year, hopefully with Kyle Rigg. We'll be on the show again. Him and I will do a mock draft like we did last year. It was really fun. But yeah, keep continuing to follow our socials. Look out for a YouTube series, hope maybe this spring of NCAA 2013, my journey as a head coach, rising up the ranks. If not, definitely when the new game comes out this fall, there will be a Tony Blitzes, Tony Footballs will be uh 400 pounds on the sideline as an offensive coordinator to build up on the ranks of college football. But that's it from us. Thank you again for another great season,
Kind
and we'll
of
see you next year.